Have you ever had a case of mistaken identity? Been accused of being somebody else? Maybe a wacky situation where someone thought you were part of the royal family? Nah, I doubt it. But that's exactly what happened with Henry Martyn and Tommy Patel.
Once upon a time, there were two babies, Henry and Tommy, who were switched at birth.
Read all about it, Simon.
Henry grew up to become
the 15th Duke of Bournemouth.
while Tommy wound up
An old hippie.
No, I'm an Asian.
No kiss for your mom, Ranjit?
they were the best of friends.
Come on, let's see a show. Now, she was a great Hamlet.
I just don't remember the banana scene in Hamlet.
Well, sort of a tropical interpretation.
Drunk again, sir.
Until one day,
It's okay, Butler, so are we.
Tommy discovered
You're adopted, all right. See? That's you.
that Henry's family
Remind me of my late husband. Of course, I haven't seen you naked.
and his fortune
I'd give anything to live here.
should have been his.
I am the Bournemouth baby. I should be Henry.
Of course, it would be quite different
Now, don't be jealous.
if he was dead.
Written by Monty Pythoner Eric Idle, he used two stories told to him by friends as the jumping off point for splitting hairs. Firstly, a friend of his had been left as a baby. His mother had abandoned him in a red telephone box in London's Sloane Square. He was discovered not long after and taken care of, but his mother never returned to claim her son again. Another story was from a different friend that had said about a couple going to a house party with a baby in a bassinet, leaving the bassinet on the bed upstairs where they had a right old knees up downstairs. Only then to bugger off home afterwards and completely forget about the baby until the next morning. These two ideas came together for Idle to tell the story of Thomas Henry Butterfly Rainbow Peace, aka the 15th Duke of Bournemouth, being misplaced, and then when the parents return and claim him, they accidentally claim the wrong baby. Now, this is where David Bowie comes into the story. He wasn't cast in the film. No. He lent Eric Idle his Balinese home on the island of Mustique. So in 1991, Eric and his wife Tanya spent 6 weeks in a house that was perfectly pitched on the high hillside overlooking the Caribbean. The perfect place for inspiration and to bang out a script for Splitting Heirs. So taken with Bowie's generosity in lending them his house, Idle left a note for his friend. It was a long thank you letter, but very much in the vein you would expect from somebody like Eric Idle. The opening paragraph said, "Dear David, just leaving the house. One or two things. The fire's nearly out, and I think the hillside looks better all bare and black. And Arn agrees. Sort of a Japanesey look, but post Hiroshima. About 20 minutes post. But at least it's not radioactive. Unless there was something toxic in the octagonal room. Which is still blazing nicely. It's almost a shame to put it out." With Idle playing the lead role of Tommy Patel, the baby switched at birth, the film pulled in his Monty Python co-star John Cleese to play Tommy's seedy lawyer Shagrind. Rick Moranis was cast as Henry Martyn, the American who believes he's the 15th Duke of Bournemouth. Bringing in Moranis followed that decades-old tradition of British films casting an American so they could sell it on the other side of the pond. But let's face it, with Idle, Cleese and Moranis, the film was a bit short of beauty. Thankfully, somebody had a very clever idea of casting American actress Barbara Hershey as the nymphomaniac Duchess alongside British newcomer Catherine Zeta-Jones as gold digger Kitty Ferrant. Hershey and Zeta-Jones certainly brought a level of good-looking people. But if filmgoers were thinking they'd see either of the women nude, then they were in for a big shock. Having spent many Monty Python years in women's clothes, Idle decided to shed them and just go fully nude in Splitting Heirs. A scene called for Tommy to be caught in bed with Kitty, and he had to run to a wardrobe to hide in it. Idle spent weeks walking and swimming to tone his body for the scene. He also went on a small holiday to Spain just before the scene was to be shot in order to get a golden tan. Not only that, the makeup people painted abs on his body to make him look a bit buffer. But for all the laughing and joking, Splitting Heirs rubbed a few people up the wrong way. When it opened at the Cannes Film Festival in 1993, the Daily Mail's film critic apparently had a right old set to with Eric Idle about why he'd made such an unfunny film. Zeta-Jones heard this and promptly cancelled her press appearances at the film festival and stayed in England. Idle, on the other hand, decided enough was enough and moved to California shortly after. Reviews for the film were not just bad, but downright scathing. And if you look up the film's box office returns on Wikipedia, it just reads, "The film performed poorly." Splitting Heirs is a curious film. It's neither Python nor British 90s comedy. It sits somewhere in between and not in between. However, if you're aware of that going in, then the film is a much more enjoyable watch. It does have some of the irreverence of Monty Python, but only slight touches. Instead, it owes a lot more to the American comedies like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and Clue and The Burbs. Comedies about people who possibly aren't who you think they are. Is everybody on the level here, or are they just slightly mad? Idol's bumbling Tommy is entertaining. Cleese plays Shadgrind like an upper-class Dick Dastardly. Rick Moranis is, well, Rick Moranis, and his upbeat persona is infectious. Yet for all the entertainment the three males bring, the film is so much funnier thanks to Hershey and Zeta Jones. They bring the real laughs. Hershey's sex-mad Duchess revels in the men making them feel uncomfortable when shamelessly coming onto them. Her sex drive constantly overflowing as she looks to devour all men. Hershey hams it up spectacularly well. And on the opposite end of the scale is Zeta Jones playing Kitty in such a straight-laced way that it becomes hard not to love her British deadpan style. Using sex to get what she wants. Men fall at her feet and Kitty gobbles them up in a very different way to the Duchess. Kitty is more conniving, more deceitful. Zeta Jones had only been acting for 3 years, yet it doesn't show because she gives such a terrific force of nature performance. Both Hershey and Zeta Jones take two characters and play them opposites, yet both are strong, independent women. Splitting Heirs harks back to the classic Ealing comedies, and herein lies the real truth about Splitting Heirs. Idol was making a homage to the Ealing comedies that he grew up watching and loving and being influenced by. It's got very broad appeal to it. It mixes British and American comedy well. It's a comedy of errors and of manners. It's a sex farce. It's madcap. It's also genteel. It would certainly make a really good double bill with that classic Ealing comedy Kind Hearts and Coronets. Splitting Heirs is also a comedy about the ultimate injustice. An American taking the British crown.
Somebody put helium in Henry's scuba tank. Somebody tampered with the pool suite.
Accidents happened. People falling out of windows. Shooting accidents.
Pull!
Car crashes.
Somebody is trying to kill Henry.
Don't be ridiculous.
Get me out of this moose!
Accidents.
Join Rick Moranis, Eric Idle, Barbara Hershey, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and John Cleese in an explosive new comedy, Splitting Heirs.
Can't be better.